The genesis of the impossible mindset. There is a place in the mind where limits dissolve, where the impossible bends until it becomes ordinary. Most never reach this place, not because it is hidden, but because they refuse to believe it exists. They settle for the familiar, mistake safety for success, and call surrender realism. Yet history whispers a different truth. Every extraordinary achievement began as an idea no one else dared to take seriously. Dois questionamentos plus respostas conclusivas. Why is it that a handful of individuals create legacies that outlast their lifetimes, while the majority leave little more than a faint echo? The answer lies not in talent, resources, or luck, but in the way they think. And why do so many abandon their dreams the moment difficulty appears? Because their thinking was never fortified against resistance. They prepared to retreat instead of preparing to conquer. True achievement begins when the mind refuses to negotiate with limitation and commits to a vision with absolute finality. The law of separation from the herd. If you intend to achieve what others call impossible, you must first distance yourself from the gravitational pull of the herd. Herd thinking is built on comfort and consensus. Impossible thinking thrives on clarity and courage. The masses value being safe over being sovereign. But greatness, real greatness, is never born in the warm embrace of collective agreement. Emerges in the solitude of decisive thought. To separate yourself mentally is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of self-preservation. Your mind is sacred soil. Every idea planted there will, in time, bear fruit, either sweet with fulfillment or bitter with regret. If you plant doubt, you will reap hesitation. If you plant fear, you will harvest mediocrity. But if you plant an unshakable belief in a clearly defined goal, the impossible begins to dissolve, not by magic, but by mental law, clarity of purpose. The first cornerstone, the man who achieves the impossible knows exactly what he wants down to the number, the address, the color of the door, the tone of his own voice when he declares victory. Vague dreams produce vague results. A precise vision, on the other hand, acts like a magnetic force, pulling resources, people, and opportunities into alignment. Definiteness of purpose is not merely a motivational phrase, it is the architecture of destiny. Without it, your actions scatter like leaves in the wind. With it, your every movement becomes a step on a deliberate path. Clarity is the foundation upon which persistence can stand without collapsing under pressure. Faith in advance, acting before evidence. The second law of impossible achievement is applied faith. Faith is not idle hope, it is action taken as though the outcome were already certain. It is behaving like the man who already possesses the empire, speaks with the authority of the leader he envisions himself to be, and moves with the inevitability of one who knows success is a matter of when, not if. This kind of faith is magnetic. It does not beg. It builds. It does not wait for validation. It validates itself through execution. The universe does not bend for hesitation. It bends for decisiveness. When you act in alignment with belief, you announce to reality that you will not be moved by opinion, delay, or fear. The discipline of repetition, programming the subconscious. The third principle is the law of autosuggestion. Your subconscious mind accepts whatever it is told with repetition and emotion. It does not debate, it obeys. If you speak limitation, it delivers limitation. If you declare power, clarity, and precision, it begins to shape the world in accordance with those declarations. This is why the achiever becomes intoxicated with his vision. He repeats it aloud in solitude, burns it into his mind with feeling, and reinforces it daily until the idea becomes part of his identity. Belief, like any habit, is trained, and once trained, it becomes the default setting of the mind. The death of realism is the vocabulary of the defeated. No man has reshaped the world by being realistic. They reshaped it by seeing what others could not and refusing to unsee it. This refusal creates a mental resilience that cannot be shaken by mockery, misunderstanding, or delay. A man who decides to achieve the impossible walks away from the mental exit routes that most keep in place just in case. He burns the bridges behind him. He erases the backup plan, not because he is reckless, but because he understands that the mind prepared to retreat will always hesitate under pressure, and hesitation kills potential faster than failure. Mental endurance, the long game. The impossible is never conquered in a single triumph. It is won in the shadows, earned through thousands of unseen repetitions, when no one is watching, no one applauding, and no one validating your effort. Mental endurance is the capacity to remain obsessed without applause, to execute with precision when fatigue sets in, and to keep building even when results are not yet visible. This endurance is rare because it requires discipline in the absence of excitement. It demands consistency when motivation is gone. But the man who endures mentally becomes inevitable. His persistence outlasts resistance. Controlled attention, the ultimate currency in a world engineered to fracture your focus with endless distractions. The ability to govern your attention is the highest form of wealth. Your reality expands in the direction of your dominant focus. If you dwell on doubt, you build a prison. If you fixate on fear, you invite more of it. But if you obsess over your vision with emotional intensity, your mind and body align themselves for its fulfillment. The law of concentration is merciless and mathematical. Whatever you hold in your mind with energy and repetition must eventually appear in your physical reality. Specialized knowledge, precision over information general knowledge, is everywhere. Specialized, applied knowledge is rare. The man who achieves the impossible studies his craft with surgical precision. He learns not for amusement, but for transformation, and then acts on what he learns with urgency. Knowledge without application is a beautifully sharpened sword left. In its sheath it changes nothing. Action, in the face of fear, separates the visionary from the fantasizer. Momentum, built through consistent execution, is the silent engine behind every so-called overnight success. The quiet power of inner command. There comes a moment in every builder's journey when the loud rush of early ambition must give way to the quiet discipline of sustained mastery. This is where most people lose their grip. They begin with enthusiasm, driven by the thrill of a fresh start. But when the novelty fades and the applause grows silent, their energy scatters. True leaders know this is when the real work begins, not in the noise of victory, but in the silence of persistence. Understand that the construction of anything great, whether a business, a reputation, or a legacy, demands more than bursts of effort. It demands a steady, deliberate command over one's own actions, day after day, year after year. And this command is not enforced by external pressure, but maintained through the invisible chains of personal standards. It is tempting to chase quick results, to seek validation at every step, but this craving is a subtle enemy. It makes you a servant to the opinions of others, forever dependent on their approval to feel worthy. Great builders, instead, root their confidence in a private covenant with themselves. They know who they are, what they stand for, and where they are headed, whether the world notices or not. The discipline that no one sees. The world celebrates talent, but it rarely notices discipline until the results are undeniable. The hours spent in solitude refining skills, the evenings sacrificed to quiet study, the mornings devoted to exercise and reflection. These acts of preparation are invisible to most, yet they are the foundation of any enduring triumph. Consider the master craftsman who sharpens his tools each night, though no one applauds his diligence. Or the leader who reads extensively, expanding his knowledge quietly while competitors boast on public stages. These are the disciplines that protect progress when distractions and temptations inevitably arrive. Your challenge is to build this kind of silent infrastructure within yourself, a network of habits so deeply rooted that you cannot be swayed by mood, environment, or external events. Without it, you will always drift toward the easy path, and the easy path rarely leads to greatness. Guarding the gates of the mind in the pursuit of mastery, you must become the gatekeeper of your own mind. Thoughts are seeds, and not all seeds deserve to be planted. Every day, you are bombarded with opinions, fears, and narratives designed to weaken your resolve. If you allow these to take root, they will grow into doubt and hesitation. Choking your ambition before it blooms. Guarding your mind means choosing your influences with precision. What you read, watch, and listen to will either sharpen your vision or cloud it. Who you associate with will either fuel your momentum or drain it. Every conversation, every piece of information carries a hidden weight. It is either building your fortress or eroding its walls. Great leaders are selective to the point of being misunderstood. They do not engage in every debate or expose themselves to every distraction. They understand that the mind is their most valuable territory, and they defend it as fiercely as a king guards his kingdom. The paradox of control. One of the hardest lessons to embrace is that control is both an illusion and a necessity. You cannot dictate every outcome in life. Unexpected challenges will arrive. People will disappoint you. Plans will unravel. Yet within this chaos, there exists a sphere where your authority is absolute. Your response. In that small but powerful realm lies the essence of inner command. You may not control the wind, but you can adjust the sails. You may not choose the storm, but you decide whether you face it with panic or composure. And it is in these moments, when the uncontrollable collides with the unshakable, that your character is revealed. The paradox is that by releasing your grip on what you cannot influence, you strengthen your grip on what you can. And those who master this balance walk through life with a calmness that others mistake for luck. The silent architecture of destiny. There comes a point in every achiever's journey when the roar of ambition quiets and the true test begins. Not in grand gestures or public recognition, but in the unseen, uncelebrated labor of daily persistence. The world rarely applauds the early hours, the silent repetition, the sacrifice made when no one is watching. And yet, these are the hours that shape the invincible mind. True mental mastery is forged in the shadows. While others sleep, doubt, or entertain themselves with distractions, the builder works. Not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Each thought is examined, each action measured. The man who achieves the impossible understands that excellence is not a product of occasional effort. It is the result of relentless consistency. Discipline is not simply showing up. It is showing up when your body resists, when your emotions falter, when logic whispers, "You can stop now." It is taking the difficult path daily, choosing the uncomfortable option every time comfort tempts you. Most fail because they are seduced by ease, by the immediate reward. But the achiever knows that the seeds of greatness grow only where there is tension, pressure, and invisible toil. Attention is the ultimate currency in a distracted world. Every moment you allow your mind to drift toward fear, doubt, or distraction, you are surrendering power. Conversely, every moment you direct your focus toward your purpose, your vision, and your plan is a brick laid in the fortress of your future. Controlled attention is more than skill, it is a superpower. It allows you to manifest reality according to your will, shaping circumstances, opportunities, and people to align with the life you intend to build. This mastery of focus is inseparable from specialized knowledge. General knowledge is abundant. It surrounds you in books, conversations, and classrooms. But applied knowledge, the precise understanding of the craft you intend to dominate, is what turns vision into empire. Study relentlessly. Observe obsessively. Train like a surgeon, like a strategist, like a warrior preparing for battle. Knowledge, when acted upon with discipline, becomes power. Knowledge alone is inert. It is action, repeated with fearlessness, and precision that ignites transformation. Momentum, unseen yet unstoppable, emerges from this disciplined application. The man who achieves the impossible does not wait for ideal conditions. He builds certainty through repetition. He acts in advance of emotion, creating a future where others are frozen by hesitation. Every repetition, every minor victory in private, compounds until the world witnesses what once seemed unattainable. And yet, even mastery cannot shield you from resistance. The impossible tests those who dare to pursue it. You will encounter walls, setbacks, mockery, and doubt, not just from others, but from your own mind. It is in these moments that your invisible architecture is revealed. Pressure does not break the builder, it solidifies him. Resistance is not punishment, it is proof that you are on the edge of creation. The diamond cannot form without heat, nor can the extraordinary emerge without challenge. Identity is the cornerstone of achievement. Your actions will never exceed the vision you hold of yourself. To create what others deem impossible, you must develop an unshakable self-image. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. You must see yourself as the person who inevitably achieves, even when the path is unclear, even when evidence seems absent. Rehearse this identity daily, through thoughts, words, and deeds. Let it permeate every choice until it becomes your default reality. Finally, the man who masters this level of thought becomes magnetic. His presence, words, and decisions carry weight. He walks through life not merely surviving, but shaping, commanding, and creating. The impossible begins to bend, not because the world concedes, but because a mind trained to act with relentless purpose cannot be denied. This is the essence of silent architecture: to labor unseen, to endure without applause, to refine thought into action, and to construct a life so precise, so disciplined, that the extraordinary becomes inevitable. The seed, nurtured in the darkness, eventually breaks the soil. What once seemed impossible now stands as evidence of a mind fully mastered. The conquest of the impossible, the final frontier of achievement, begins with one unwavering truth. The world does not recognize your intentions. It measures results. Every moment of hesitation, every deferred action, every fleeting doubt is a stone added to the invisible wall that separates you from your destiny. To think and achieve the impossible is not a casual exercise. It is a lifelong commitment, a relentless march fueled by clarity, faith, and discipline. To act with power, you must first decide with finality. There is no room for plan B, no hidden safety nets, no exit strategies disguised as contingencies. Every bridge behind you must be burned, every compromise with mediocrity abandoned. Stand fully in your purpose, because the universe does not honor hesitation, only the absolute commitment of the mind fully engaged. Imagine a man faced with a challenge that others call insurmountable. Perhaps he is building an empire from nothing, or solving a problem no one else can envision. The world may laugh, the critics may jeer, the conditions may be unfavorable, but within him, a fire burns untouched by external circumstances. Fire is belief, intensified by action, amplified by repetition. It cannot be extinguished by fear or skepticism. It knows only progress, only creation, only results. Action in advance of certainty is the hallmark of the extraordinary. Most wait to feel ready, to receive validation, to see the path illuminated. But the master builder does not wait. He creates the light with each decisive step. He moves before conditions align, knowing that movement itself summons opportunity. Every calculated risk, every act of courage, every small victory compounds into an unstoppable force. The impossible begins to look inevitable not through luck, but through relentless preparation and consistent execution. Faith is not passive. It is kinetic, a force that permeates thought, speech, and action. Consider the pioneers who reshaped the world, the inventors who turned empty spaces into skyscrapers, the explorers who crossed oceans thought untraversable, the entrepreneurs who built empires in basements and backrooms. Each of them acted as though their vision already existed. They walked, spoke, and decided from the perspective of inevitability. This is faith in motion, the alignment of thought, belief, and action into a singular, unrelenting vector of creation. Momentum is invisible, yet unstoppable. While others debate and procrastinate, the man who achieves the impossible works silently, consistently, relentlessly. Every choice is intentional. Every repetition reinforces identity. Every action compounds until the world witnesses the culmination of what seemed unattainable. Momentum turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. It makes the impossible inevitable. It separates the visionary from the fantasizer, the achiever from the dreamer. Obstacles are the proving ground of greatness. Resistance is not punishment. It is proof of progress. The universe tests not to discourage, but to refine. Pressure, discomfort, and adversity are instruments in the hands of the mind disciplined to victory. Every challenge met, every setback overcome, every doubt silenced adds a layer of resilience, sharpening the mind like a blade honed in fire. The man who persists despite opposition becomes unbreakable, untouchable, unstoppable. Identity is the cornerstone of achievement. Your actions are a reflection of who you believe yourself to be. To achieve the impossible, you must embody the identity of the man who has already accomplished it. See yourself daily, living the life others call impossible. Speak, move, and act as though there is no alternative. Every repetition, every choice, every habit builds the architecture of inevitability. Change the belief, and the behavior follows. Change the behavior, and the outcome becomes inevitable. Let us examine the principle of controlled attention. In a world of constant distraction, focus is the ultimate power. Where others scatter their energy, the disciplined mind concentrates. Where others indulge fear, the focused mind visualizes victory. Where others drift, the master deliberately steers the ship. What you dwell upon expands. What you obsess over manifests. Direct your thoughts like arrows, unerring and precise, toward the target of your purpose. Ignore the noise, the critics, the doubts. They are irrelevant to the mind locked in on greatness. Not the law of compounding applies not only to action, but to thought. Every repeated affirmation, every rehearsal of success, every visualization of your outcome ingrains the future into your subconscious mind. The mind obeys repetition with emotion. It cannot distinguish between imagined and real once fully embedded. Speak your vision, believe your vision, act upon it until it becomes the only reality you recognize. This is autosuggestion in its most powerful form, the bridge between thought and manifestation. Consider history's great achievers, the inventors, the explorers, the revolutionaries. They were not gifted beyond measure. They were disciplined beyond measure. Their secret was not luck, but relentless mental training, rigorous action, and absolute refusal to accept limitation. They endured ridicule, isolation, and hardship, yet they persisted because their minds were sovereign. Every thought aligned with purpose, every belief reinforced by action, every habit built with consistency. They became unstoppable because their minds refused compromise. Now, think of the smallest, most ordinary actions you take daily. How do they align with the extraordinary life you desire? Are you feeding doubt or fueling belief? Are you rehearsing failure or sculpting victory? Success is not sudden. It is a cumulative effect of disciplined thought, repeated action, and unyielding focus. The impossible is not a destination. It is a byproduct of a mind fully mastered, a spirit fully committed, and a life fully aligned. At this stage, timing becomes irrelevant. Opportunity gravitates toward preparation. The man who acts decisively does not wait for the perfect moment, he creates it. Doors open, allies appear, resources flow, and circumstances bend not because the world favors him, but because the universe cannot resist a mind fully aligned with purpose. His presence becomes magnetic, his words authoritative, his decisions undeniable. He is no longer living in possibility. He is possibility incarnate. Finally, mastery is not a finish line, it is a standard. The man who achieves the impossible continues to refine, expand, and evolve. He never rests in complacency, never settles for mediocrity, never excuses failure. Every day is an opportunity to think sharper, act bolder, and create more. He knows that the impossible is only a temporary label applied by the untrained mind. In reality, the impossible is merely the unattempted, the unexplored, the unimagined. So take your place, decide fully, commit completely, act relentlessly, build silently, rehearse deliberately, persist without hesitation. And when the world tells you it cannot be done, smile quietly, for you already know it has been done in your mind. You have thought it. You have believed it. You have acted as if it is real. Now the world must recognize the truth of your vision. This is the conquest of the impossible, the ultimate mastery of mind, action, and destiny. You are no longer a dreamer, you are a builder. You are no longer a spectator, you are a creator. And from this moment forward, nothing outside of you can surpass the power within.